So looking at the cryptocurrency market today is honestly, it's exactly like walking onto a massive high-end car dealership lot where absolute chaos has just broken out.
Oh, yeah, complete chaos.
Right. Everywhere you look, people are just, elbowing each other. They're fighting over these rented neon-wrapped supercars.
Yeah, the ones that look incredible on Instagram.
Exactly. The engine roar is deafening, and literally every influencer on Earth is taking a selfie in the driver's seat. But if you actually look closely, the paint is still wet.
Right, and the parts are basically held together with duct tape.
Yes. And the engine might literally explode the second you try to drive it onto the actual highway.
Which happens constantly in this space, by the way.
It really does. But meanwhile, amidst all this screaming and the flashing lights, almost everyone is completely ignoring this bulletproof 12-year-old, endlessly reliable work truck that's just sitting quietly parked in the back lot.
Just doing its job.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't have racing stripes, but it also hasn't broken down once in over a decade.
That is honestly the perfect visualization for where we are right now.
Thanks. I mean, it really feels that way.
It does, because in a world of absolute information overload, especially in the financial technology sector, the most valuable and honestly the rarest skill you can cultivate as a learner is the ability to separate that temporary viral social sentiment from actual battle-tested infrastructure.
And that is exactly our mission today. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
Glad to be here.
So today, we are cutting straight through the deafening noise of the crypto markets to examine this really fascinating thesis from normiecrypto.com.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
It really is. Their recent deep dive article argues that DigiByte DGB remains this massively misunderstood hidden gem for the practical, utility-focused investor.
Which is a bold claim in today's market.
Right, it is. So we're going to explore the massive tension between those flashy viral moonshots and quiet foundational blockchain utility.
And we're going to unpack how a 12-year-old decentralized project is silently evolving to offer real personal banking tools.
Yeah, and why the mainstream market's current assessment of its value might be completely backward.
It really forces us to ask some deeply uncomfortable questions about how digital markets actually assign value today.
Like, are we pricing in longevity or just pricing in attention?
Exactly. But before we get into the mechanics of all this, and there is a lot of machinery to unpack today, we do need to establish the ground rules.
Yes, absolute requirement. You know the drill. Reflecting the very clear guidelines we always operate under, all the content we are discussing in this deep dive is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes.
Right. We are not giving you financial advice.
We are not giving you investment advice, and we certainly aren't giving you legal advice. You always need to do your own research and, consult with a certified professional before making any financial moves.
We're just here to help you enjoy the learning process.
Exactly, and figure out how this technology actually functions under the hood.
Precisely. And speaking of enjoying the process, I see you've got your mug ready.
Aw, man. You know I do. I am
Yeah.
literally drinking the Broken Top coffee blend right now.
Nice. Medium roast, right?
Yeah, from the Normie Crypto Shop. I've got it in my color morphing mug, which is just the coolest thing.
I need to get one of those.
You really do. I mean, to support this kind of crucial, hype-free education we're talking about today, you guys listening definitely need to check out the shop at normiecrypto.com. But anyway, let's get into the foundation.
Right. If we want to understand how it functions, we need to start by looking at that truck parked in the back of the dealership.
So the foundational stat that kicks this whole analysis off is the timeline. DigiByte is a 12-year proven, entirely decentralized blockchain.
12 years.
Right. Let's just pause on that number. In crypto time, that is practically the Jurassic era.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin itself was only a few years old when DigiByte launched.
It's wild to think about.
To put that in perspective, for someone outside the day-to-day crypto industry, surviving 12 years in this space is like a traditional tech company surviving a century of economic depressions.
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it.
I mean, in the last 12 years, we have seen the Mt. Gox collapse. We saw the 2017 ICO bubble just burst spectacularly.
Oh, man, the ICO days.
Right. And then the algorithmic stablecoin death spirals of 2022 and the absolute fraud of the FTX meltdown.
Thousands upon thousands of projects have gone to absolute zero.
Exactly. So surviving that gauntlet requires a level of resilience in the underlying code that you simply cannot fake.
Doing exactly what it says on the tin. There's no central corporate office to raid.
Nope.
There's no massive venture capital backing dictating the roadmap.
Right.
And zero centralized marketing team. just a high-speed, secure, truly borderless medium of exchange. But I have to stop you right here and push back on this a bit
Sure, go for it.
because I know exactly what the listener is thinking right now.
What's that?
If this network is so incredibly fast, so mathematically secure, and has survived over a decade of the most brutal crypto winters imaginable, why on earth is it priced the way it is?
Ah, right. The price question.
I mean, let's be totally real here. Tech doesn't matter if nobody knows it exists.
That's a fair point.
Isn't refusing to play the marketing game basically financial suicide in a market driven entirely by attention? Like, new investors look at its price and immediately assume it's a dead project.
It's the elephant in the room, for sure. And it's a totally rational reaction if you're using traditional market metrics.
Right.
But this is where we have to fundamentally separate the concept of price from value.
Okay, unpack that.
Well, the dynamic we are seeing with DigiByte's valuation isn't a reflection of failed technology. It's a reflection of the industry's current immaturity.
Interesting.
Let's break down the three specific industry dynamics highlighted in the Normie Crypto article that drive this perception. The first is the overwhelming shift to speculation over utility.
Ah, the neon supercars we were talking about.
Exactly. The current market landscape is heavily skewed toward meme tokens and viral narratives.
Oh, totally.
You have billions of dollars flowing into projects that pump based purely on social sentiment. You know, funny picture of a dog in a hat, or a tech billionaire tweeting a cryptic meme.
Yeah, and these tokens have zero underlying technological merit.
Zero. They don't solve any real-world problems. DigiByte, by its very architecture and ethos, violently rejects that hype-first approach.
Because it was built for utility.
Right. It was built to move value securely from point A to point B.
But the trade-off for that purity is invisibility, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately it is.
Because they don't have a CEO shaking hands on financial news networks, and they aren't paying YouTubers to scream about it, it flies completely under the radar of the average short-term focused investor.
Right. Which brings us to the second dynamic, and this is crucial to understand. It's the actual cost of true decentralization.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, think about how a modern, hyped crypto project launches today. A company creates a token out of thin air. Let's say they mint 1 billion tokens.
Okay.
They keep 500 million for themselves, the founders, the foundation, and their VC backers.
The classic pre-mine.
Exactly. Then they slowly sell off their massive hoard of pre-mined tokens to the retail public.
Right.
And they use that money to fund massive advertising budgets, sponsor sports arenas, and pay influencers to constantly talk about the token.
Yeah, that artificial ecosystem creates this explosive viral awareness. It looks like incredible growth.
But it's totally artificial.
Yeah.
You are essentially paying people with your own printed money to convince others that your printed money is valuable.
Wow. Yeah. When you put it that way, it sounds like a literal scam.
Well, DigiByte doesn't do that.
Okay.
It didn't have an ICO.
Right.
There is no central foundation sitting on a multi-million-dollar treasury they can just dump on the market to buy a Super Bowl ad.
So its growth is purely organic.
Yes.
Yes.
It is steady, and it is entirely based on word of mouth from developers and users who actually interact with the code.
Which makes the project arguably much more secure.
Highly secure, and practically immune to corporate censorship. But the undeniable trade-off is the lack of that artificial viral explosion.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's the difference between a corporation buying a massive billboard on the highway versus having your neighbor quietly recommend a really good, honest mechanic.
Exactly.
The billboard is louder, it gets more eyeballs today, but the neighbor's recommendation is rooted in actual performance.
And that leads perfectly to the third dynamic, the market's complete inability to price in long-term infrastructure.
Right, because we exist in a space entirely dominated by temporary trends.
Completely. The attention span of the crypto market is measured in weeks, sometimes hours.
Yeah, a 12-year track record of perfect network uptime is often completely ignored in favor of whatever AI-themed coin is trending on social media today.
But when we zoom out, that lack of artificial hype is actually a massive signal, isn't it?
I would think so. If a project has survived 12 years without a marketing budget propping it up, its baseline value isn't built on sand, it's built on bedrock.
That is the exact psychological shift a mature investor makes. A lack of artificial inflation and paid hype is a massively strong indicator of a healthier, more sustainable asset.
So when the market inevitably crashes, when the VC money dries up and the influencers stop tweeting, the meme coins evaporate,
Oof. Gone.
and the projects that survive are the ones where the value is derived from actual functional utility.
Precisely.
Okay, let's pivot a bit here.
Sure.
If DigiByte is this rock-solid 12-year-old foundation that flat-out refuses to play the flashy marketing game, what exactly are the developers building on top of it right now?
That is the big question.
Because we both know you can't just rest on your laurels in tech, even if your laurels are a decade old. Stagnation is death.
Absolutely.
So this leads us directly into what their community is pointing to as their biggest upcoming technical milestone.
Yeah, this is where the story shifts from the philosophical base layer to some truly cutting-edge practical application. We are moving from talking about simply scoring value to talking about actually deploying it. We are talking about the DigiDollar.
The DigiDollar. Okay, so it's being framed as a total reinvention of the stablecoin.
Yes.
Now, for anyone listening who might be new to that specific term, a stablecoin is a cryptocurrency designed to have a completely stable price, almost always pegged to a fiat currency like the US dollar.
Right, so one digital coin always equals one actual dollar.
It's supposed to give you the speed of crypto without the roller coaster price swings.
Exactly.
But how is the DigiDollar fundamentally different from the massive multi-billion-dollar stablecoins already dominating the market, like Tether's USDT or Circle's USDC?
The difference is entirely about trust and custody. Traditional stablecoins like USDT and USDC are centralized.
Meaning they rely on custodial issuers.
Yes. That means to create a USDC, there is a literal company, Circle, taking a real US dollar, putting it in a traditional bank account or a treasury bill, and then issuing a digital token that represents that dollar.
So you are basically trusting a massive middleman.
You are.
You are trusting the company's auditors, you are trusting the traditional bank holding the cash, and you are trusting the government not to freeze that traditional bank account.
Exactly. It completely defeats the original purpose of decentralized crypto.
It really does.
The DigiDollar, however, is a native decentralized stablecoin built directly into the DigiByte protocol itself.
Okay, so no central bank reserve.
No central bank reserve. There is no corporate issuer. Instead, it uses an entirely mathematical, over-collateralized model.
Okay, here is where we need to slow down because the mechanics here are wild, and I want to make sure this makes total sense to the listener.
Let's break it down.
Let me try an analogy to explain how you can literally print dollars without a bank. Using the DigiDollar is somewhat like going to a pawn shop, but a purely digital, automated one.
Okay, I like that.
Let's say you hold a lot of DigiByte DGB. You believe in its long-term value. You know the 12-year history, so you absolutely refuse to sell it.
Right, you want to hold on to the asset.
But your rent is due, or you need to buy groceries. You need stable spending power right now.
Yep, a very common scenario.
So you take your DGB, you walk up to this digital pawn shop, and you lock your DGB inside a vault. In return, the vault hands you stable, newly minted $1 bills, DigiDollars that you can spend on everyday commerce.
That's a good start, but we really need to inject the reality of market risk into that analogy.
Okay, tell me where it falls short.
Because in a real pawn shop, if the gold watch you pawn drops in value, the pawn shop owner takes the loss.
Right.
In a decentralized protocol, there is no earner to take the loss. So how does the vault guarantee that the $1 bill it handed you is always worth exactly $1?
Right. Over-collateralization.
Exactly.
You can't just lock up $100 worth of DGB and get $100 in DigiDollars.
Precisely. You might have to lock up $150 or $200 worth of DGB just to mint $100 worth of stable DigiDollars.
Okay, so that extra cushion is the over-collateralization.
Yes. And here is the brutal but completely necessary mathematical reality of the system. Liquidation.
The scary word.
It is, but it's vital. If the broader crypto market crashes and the value of the DGB you locked in that vault drops too close to the $100 you borrowed, the protocol doesn't wait for you to answer a phone call.
It just acts.
It automatically liquidates. It sells a portion of your locked DGB on the open market to cover the debt and ensure that the DigiDollars circulating in the economy remain fully backed.
So it's an automated safety net. It forces the system to remain solvent without needing a central bank to print bailout money.
That's the brilliance of it.
But here is the massive twist to this entire pawn shop scenario we're talking about. There is no guy behind a counter.
Right.
There is no corporate entity holding your collateral. You are the only one holding the keys to that vault.
And that right there is the holy grail of what we call non-custodial finance. You are locking your DGB into a time-locked, protocol-level script entirely within your own wallet.
Wait, entirely within my own wallet?
Yes. And the reason you can do this securely, without creating a giant honeypot that hackers can drain, comes down to DigiByte's underlying architecture.
Hmm.
Specifically, its UTXO framework.
Okay, UTXO, unspent transaction output.
That's the one.
This is a term that gets thrown around in dense crypto white papers constantly, but let's translate it for the listener.
Yeah, let's unpack it.
Most modern crypto networks, like Ethereum, or honestly even your traditional Wells Fargo bank account, use an account-based model.
Right. Think of the account model like a bartender keeping a running tally on a chalkboard.
Okay.
When you buy a drink, the bartender just wipes away your old balance and writes a new lower number.
Seems simple enough.
It is, but the massive risk there is that the chalkboard is centralized.
Mm-hmm.
If a hacker or a bad smart contract gets access to that chalkboard, they can wipe out everyone's balance at once. It's a single point of failure.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how does UTXO differ from the chalkboard?
UTXO is like paying for that drink with physical cash.
Yep.
You walk up to the bar, you hand the bartender a $20 bill for a $6 drink. The bartender doesn't write anything on a chalkboard. Instead, they're forced to hand you back exactly a $10 bill and 4 $1 bills.
So the protocol tracks the specific individual bills, the outputs moving around the economy, not an arbitrary account balance.
Exactly. It tracks discrete, isolated chunks of value.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
Because DigiByte uses this cache-like UTXO architecture. The user retains absolute granular control of their private keys and their specific chunks of collateral at all times.
So when you lock your DGB to mint DigiDollars, you aren't sending your money to some communal pool controlled by a smart contract.
No, you are locking your specific bills in a cryptographic safe that only you control.
That is wild.
And the protocol automatically releases your exact locked DGB the moment you return and burn the DigiDollars to repay the vault.
It completely removes human trust from the equation. You aren't trusting a CEO, you aren't trusting a board of directors, you aren't even trusting a complex, hackable smart contract.
You are trusting open source mathematics that have been battle tested for over a decade.
So what does this all actually mean for everyday life? Because the single biggest criticism of cryptocurrency since the invention of Bitcoin has been, I can't buy coffee with it.
Right, because the price might drop 20% by the time the barista actually hands me my cup.
Exactly. Volatility prevents daily commerce.
And that criticism has been entirely valid for a long time. But if you have a stable value, a mathematically reliable $1 peg running natively on the lightning-fast, ultra-cheap DigiByte network, you have completely solved the volatility problem.
So the DigiDollar isn't meant for day trading?
Not at all. It is explicitly intended to facilitate real, everyday commerce. Paying for coffee, settling merchant invoices, paying employees.
Okay, I'm stuck on something here, though.
What's that?
I understand the vault, I understand the collateral, and I totally get the liquidation risk. But if this is an entirely closed loop, a decentralized network running on its own math, how on earth does my phone know that a dollar is a dollar? Like, if there's no central bank telling it the exchange rate, how does a decentralized piece of code know the exact market value of DGB compared to the US dollar?
It's a great question.
Does the app just scrape Google Finance or something? Because if it does, isn't that just centralization all over again?
That is exactly the right question to ask.
Yeah.
If you just ping the Bloomberg API or scrape Google Finance, you haven't built a decentralized system.
You've just built a system that relies on Google.
Exactly. If Google's server goes down, or if someone hacks the API feed to report that DGB is suddenly worth $1 million, the protocol would instantly print infinite DigiDollars, and the entire economy would collapse in seconds.
Right. So how do they actually solve it?
This brings us to the mechanics of independence and a concept known as the Oracle problem.
The Oracle problem.
Yes. How do you get a network of decentralized computers to agree on real-world data without relying on a single source of truth? The answer is decentralized oracles.
Okay, and what exactly is an oracle in this context?
An oracle is the engine that securely fetches outside data and feeds it on-chain.
And building one natively is a massive technical hurdle, right?
It is arguably one of the hardest problems in blockchain engineering. You have to design a system where multiple independent nodes all pull the price data from dozens of different global sources.
Okay.
Then they compare their answers, strip out any extreme outliers that might be trying to manipulate the price, and mathematically agree on the true median price before feeding it into the vault's liquidation engine.
That sounds incredibly complex. And the timeline for this isn't some distant pipe dream, is it?
Not at all.
Because the Normie crypto source material points out that as of late May 2026, with the core version 9.26.0 release, The DigiByte network actually began testing this native Oracle functionality.
Yes, they are laying the pipes right now to securely feed that real-world USD pricing data directly into the UTXO framework.
So the engine is actively being built. But for the listener trying to picture using this tomorrow, what does this look like on my phone? Am I going to the App Store to download a whole new DigiDollar banking app?
No, and that's the real beauty of integrating this directly into the base layer. You don't need a new centralized app.
So what do I use?
You are fundamentally upgrading the non-custodial wallet you already use. Future iterations of standard DigiByte wallets, specifically the Electrum-based mobile wallets mentioned in the analysis, will simply feature a new Mint or Vault interface built right into the existing dashboard.
Wait, so a standard crypto wallet literally becomes a personal, self-sufficient bank branch.
That is the ultimate goal. You open your Electrum wallet, you go to the Vault tab, you select the DGB you want to lock, and you hit Mint.
That is incredible.
But it doesn't stop with just holding the stablecoin. The analysis also highlights a critical development from April 2026, which is the upgrade to the DigiPay SDK.
Okay, SDK, meaning Software Development Kit. These are the underlying tools and code libraries that developers use to build point-of-sale applications for merchants.
Exactly. By upgrading the DigiPay SDK to make it easier for merchants to accept standard DGB payments, they are actively laying the tracks for those exact same merchants to eventually accept these newly minted stable DigiDollars.
I really want to paint a picture of what this closed-loop economy actually looks like in practice for you, the listener.
Let's hear it.
So, you wake up on a Saturday, and you need to go buy groceries. You open your Electrum wallet on your phone. You have some DGB that you've been holding as a long-term investment.
Right.
You lock up a portion of it in the Vault interface. The decentralized Oracle checks the price securely. The protocol validates the collateral and instantly mints you $100 worth of stable DigiDollars right there on your phone.
Seamlessly.
Then you walk down the street to the local grocery store that uses a checkout tablet running the DigiPay SDK. You scan a QR code, pay for your groceries in stable, instant digital dollars, and walk out.
And the best part.
All of that happens from minting the currency to settling the final transaction without a traditional bank, a credit card processor, or a centralized exchange ever once touching your money.
It is a vision of total financial self-sufficiency. It empowers the individual to be their own complete financial institution.
Which is huge.
It is. You are the central bank, you are the commercial bank, and you are the payment processor, all rolled into an open source app on your phone.
It sounds incredibly utopian, honestly, but we really have to look at the whole board here because the crypto market isn't a utopia.
No, it certainly isn't.
It is a brutal, hyper-competitive landscape dominated by massive, multi-billion-dollar centralized exchanges.
Absolutely.
And what happens when those mega exchanges start pushing back against assets they can't control, can't heavily profit from, and can't act as middlemen for?
This is where we hit a massive friction point,
Yeah.
and it's a reality we cannot ignore. This is the clash between decentralized ideals and current market realities. The source material points to a very specific and highly impactful recent event. On June 12, 2026, Binance, which is unquestionably the largest and most liquid centralized exchange in the world, is officially delisting DGB from its margin and loan services.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to press you on this.
Go for it.
Because if I'm an investor and I read the headline, "World's Largest Exchange Delists Asset from Financial Services," I am hitting the panic button.
Sure, that's a natural reaction.
You can preach about financial sovereignty and closed-loop utopias all you want, but philosophically, pure code does not pay the bills if you can't trade the asset. Losing Binance's margin liquidity sounds like a massive blow. Isn't trying to spin this as a positive just putting lipstick on a pig?
It is the phenomenal question, and it's exactly how a traditional equity investor would react.
Right.
If a stock gets delisted from major brokerage margin accounts, the stock usually plummets because you've crippled the liquidity. And yes, in the short term, being removed from Binance margin definitively tightens liquidity for day traders who want to use heavy leverage to gamble on DGB's price swings.
Which is honestly how 90% of crypto volume is generated today.
It is. But we have to look at the historical data of what happens to true decentralized utility-driven coins when centralized entities try to squeeze them out.
Okay, give me an example.
Look at the history of privacy coins like Monero. Centralized exchanges constantly delist them to appease regulators. Did Monero die?
No, it's still around.
Right. Its organic, on-chain usage actually solidified because the people using it were using it for its native utility, not for leveraged gambling on Binance. The exact same principle applies here.
Okay, explain that. How does losing a major financial service not impact the project's long-term viability?
Because getting delisted from Binance's margin and loan services does not alter a single line of code in the DigiByte protocol.
Well, that's true.
It does not slow down the network. It does not stop the May 2026 Oracle testing. And most importantly, it has absolute zero impact on your ability to hold, send, or receive DGB in your private Electrum wallet.
Okay.
What are margin and loan services on a centralized exchange, really? It's Binance letting you borrow money against your crypto while they hold your private keys, and they charge you a massive interest rate for the privilege.
I see. They are just acting as the middleman bank again.
Precisely. The Normie Crypto article makes a profound analytical point here. For the practical investor, this delisting doesn't signal failure. It actively underscores the core mission of the project.
Which is what?
The entire purpose of building the DigiDollar, utilizing the UTXO framework, and pushing non-custodial wallets is to move completely away from relying on centralized exchanges like Binance.
Oh, wow. So if the DigiDollar turns your private wallet into a bank where you can safely lock your own collateral and mint your own stable spending power, you simply don't need Binance's loan services anymore. Binance isn't firing DigiByte. DigiByte's technology is effectively firing Binance.
It represents a massive philosophical divide happening in the cryptocurrency space right now. Most people currently use exchanges as their actual bank.
Yeah, they just leave their coins there.
Right. They buy their coins there, they leave them sitting in the exchange's wallets, and they use the exchange's centralized loan services.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you are basically just renting space on a corporate platform.
You have zero sovereignty.
Zero. That corporation can change the rules, they can freeze your account, they can get sued by a regulatory agency, or they can arbitrarily delist an asset whenever they want.
Which is exactly what we are seeing happen right now on June 12th.
Right. But true financial sovereignty means you fundamentally do not care what the centralized exchange does because the exchange is no longer the center of your financial universe. Your own wallet is.
So if the DigiDollar functions exactly as the architecture intends, the Binance delisting isn't a death knell.
Not at all. It's the ultimate validation that the old system of centralized gatekeepers is exactly the friction that DigiByte was built to bypass entirely.
It is a completely different way of viewing digital asset ownership. And honestly, this pursuit of true education, of achieving financial sovereignty without relying on corporate overlords to tell you what to think or what to buy it, mirrors the exact mission of the folks who wrote the analysis we're discussing today.
There is a very strong, very intentional parallel there. Grassroots, decentralized blockchain networks require grassroots, independent education platforms to thrive.
They really do.
You simply cannot rely on venture capital-funded media to give you objective analysis about projects that actively threaten venture capital profit models.
Right. And I really want to pause here and directly address you, the listener. If you are enjoying this deep dive, if breaking down the mechanics of oracles and UTXO is helping you cut through the insane market noise and understand the actual technology beneath the hype, you really need to support the independent creators who are making this kind of plain English education possible.
Normie Crypto is definitely doing the heavy lifting here.
They really are. They translate the complex blockchain reality without the headache. And to support their free education, they run an incredible shop.
It's a highly practical way to keep independent analysis alive in a space that is, frankly, completely dominated by paid influencers.
Absolutely. So I highly recommend you go to normiecrypto.com and browse the shop. I am telling you right now, you need to pick up the Broken Top coffee blend.
The one you're drinking right now.
Yes. It's a phenomenal medium roast. It's just $26.10. And honestly, if you are going to be staying up late trying to wrap your head around dense UTXO blockchain white papers and Oracle deployment schedules, you are going to need this coffee to keep your brain firing.
I could definitely use some of that.
And obviously, you should be drinking it out of their color morphing mug, which features the Never Panic, Always HODL cryptographic on it.
That's the one that changes color with the hot coffee, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it changes color when you pour the hot Broken Top coffee in, and it's just $17.78.
Oh.
Also, depending on your size, they have an amazing Always HODL tank top with a really cool crypto rocket graphic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, ranging from $43.32 up to $50.98. So grab a tank top, grab some of that medium roast coffee, and directly support the hype-free education that makes deep dives like this possible.
It is essential that we support these independent hubs. Because
Mm.
as we discussed in the very beginning with the car dealership analogy, the venture capital money and the massive foundation treasuries are exclusively funding the viral marketing for the neon supercars.
Right.
The only way the average person gets objective, structurally sound analysis about the quiet, resilient projects parked in the back is through platforms like Normie Crypto.
So true. So let's bring this all back together and synthesize everything we've unpacked today. What is the final verdict here? What are the core takeaways we pull from this deep dive into the ecosystem?
Well, the primary undeniable takeaway is that DigiByte is an outlier by its very design.
Yeah.
It's a 12-year-old foundational network that actively and stubbornly sacrifices short-term marketing hype in order to build long-term, battle-tested utility. It isn't trying to be the loudest. It's trying to be the most structurally sound.
And crucially, their technical evolution is not stopping. The upcoming DigiDollar, utilizing that May 2026 decentralized Oracle testing and leveraging the inherent security of the UTXO framework, represents a massive fundamental leap forward in non-custodial decentralized finance.
It truly does. It shifts the entire paradigm from relying on centralized exchanges for liquidity to turning individual wallets into fully self-sufficient personal banks.
Which ultimately makes events like a centralized exchange, tightening margin requirements, philosophically irrelevant to the core mission of the developers and the practical investors who understand the vision.
It's about building the actual infrastructure for the future of money, not chasing the fleeting fads of the month.
So one final reminder before we wrap up. Visit normiecrypto.com, grab a bag of that broken top medium roast coffee or that always HODL tank top, and read their latest guides to stay ahead of the curve. And remember, as always, everything we discussed today was purely for educational purposes to help you understand the tech.
Which leaves us with a critical, lingering thought to consider as you watch the markets this week.
Lay it on us.
If a 12-year-old decentralized network can silently evolve to become its own self-sustaining banking ecosystem capable of minting algorithmic stablecoins and facilitating global instant commerce without a single CEO, without a corporate office, and without a single marketing dollar, what does that actually say about the billions of dollars currently being poured into massive, centralized crypto corporations?
That is a great question.
When the dust finally settles on this industry, will the future of money really belong to the loudest marketing voices with the biggest ad budgets? Or will it inevitably belong to the quietest, most resilient, unkillable code?
Just remember that car dealership. When the rubber actually meets the road, are you betting your financial future on the wet neon wrap or the 12-year-old engine that simply never quits? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.